Hi there. So yeah, here's the video that I promised. I'm going to show you how you can build an apartment with 2 levels. Yeah, so it's probably going to be it's going to be a simple environment, just enough to show you how you know the workflow that I recommend when using Octave. Now, admittedly, the things and the workflow that I'm going to show you are not documented, are not officially documented. So this is probably why you know you had a little bit of trouble using the tool. So yeah, let me just start. The first steps that I'm going to be performing are creating a bunch of object groups. Object groups are basically parents that like children containers, right? And this will become a little bit this will become useful a little bit later. Because it will allow us to just find our way through the level and quickly enable and disable large groups of objects easily. So it's a scene management type of thing. Yeah. So I'm gonna create groups for the first floor, and then I'm gonna create the second floor, and I'm also going to create a group for the staircase, right? Okay, so now we have 3 objects in the scene, and you can see here we have the an active group enum pop-up. An active group pop-up, which allows you to choose the active group. This basically the active group that you see here is basically applied, is taken into account when you're placing objects in the scene in placement mode. Yeah. So in order to, for example, right now I just want to play. Let's just say I want to place a bunch of objects. If I check the attach to object group toggle button, you can see that all the objects that I'm placing are going to be attached to the active group, which is the first floor right here. Okay, and this is what I want. And also in selection mode, there's basically a separate toggle button for selection mode, which I already have checked. Make sure you check this too if you're following along with the tutorial. But in this particular case, for selection mode, such as when you're duplicating objects or extruding them, as I'll show you a bit later, you're gonna have to specify an object group separately from the one that is written here. Yeah, so the active group is not taken into account. This one is the one that matters, right? Okay, so now let's just start. I'm gonna switch to placement mode, yeah, by pressing this button here, or A on the keyboard. Yeah, so A switches to placement mode, and then I'm gonna press the this less button on the right, which is called block placement. So this will allow me to place large groups of objects in one go, and I could just use block placement to lay down the floor, but I want to show you another way that you can do that. So I'm going to switch to selection mode by pressing S, and then I'm going to select a bunch of these objects, and you can see I have a gizmo active, which is called the extrude gizmo. It can be activated by pressing this less button here on the right, or by pressing T on the keyboard. And the way this works is, if you hold down the Control key and drag one of the handles, you're going to be able to just duplicate the selection like how I just did. So let me just create a bunch of corridors and whatnot. So something like this. I don't want to make it too complicated, because we don't need to do that. So because we have the attached to object group button checked here, and the object group is first floor, all the objects that we've created using the extrude gizmo have been placed under first floor. Otherwise, if I would uncheck this, you can see that they would be created at the root. Yeah, so this is very important. Okay, now let's start placing some walls. Now I've changed the textures of some of these prefabs because I didn't like the default ones, and I've also had to create 2 prefabs by myself because they weren't included in the prefabs folder of the package. It's this, so one of them is this wall staircase prefab, and the other one is this staircase, stairs. Okay, so I'm gonna click on the wall object. I'm gonna switch to point and click mode. We don't need to use block placement anymore. And I'm gonna press U to activate object to object snap. I'm gonna press Y to rotate, place an object there, and now I can switch to selection mode. And again, use the extrude gizmo to just complete this wall segment. There you go. Now I'm gonna select a bunch of these, press Ctrl D to duplicate. Now press U to activate object to object snapping. I'm gonna place them right over here. There you go. Then complete this, the section right there. Ctrl D, duplicate. So this duplicate, rotate, snap functionality can actually do wonders. It's quite recent, and this is why the video tutorials basically just show you. They're more concentrated on spawning. Yeah, so initially Octave was really focused on spawning, but recently the selection mechanism has become quite powerful, I would say. So Ctrl D, duplicate, U to activate object to object snap, left click to place. Okay, now Ctrl D, U to activate object to object snap, Y to rotate. There you go. So now we have a bunch of these here. Let's see, we can get these guys. Ctrl D, U. Okay, let's Ctrl D, U, Y to rotate, left click, Ctrl, snap. Okay. Okay, now let's somewhere around here, I think here there will be the stairs. I'm gonna press Ctrl D, Y, U. Okay. Now let's take this guy, press Ctrl and then drag the handles. Okay, and I'm gonna switch to placement mode by pressing A on the keyboard, and I'm gonna select this wall here. It uses the wrong textures, I guess, so I assigned the wrong textures to it. Like one side is okay, the other side is wrong. I'm sorry about that. So yeah, I think this is the point where you were having trouble. This is the thing that you're having trouble with. It does indeed take a little bit of like, I don't know, in my case I can snap it. Like here, for example, this is the correct position, so I can easily snap it. But yeah, sometimes it can become uncontrollable. So what you can do in this case, you can switch to selection mode. Double click to select all the floor objects. When you double click on an object, it will select all the objects that share the same prefab, like all the objects that have been instantiated from the same prefab. Like in this particular case, if I'm double clicking on a floor object, it will select all the floor objects. Or I can just press G on the keyboard, and I'm gonna press this button right here, assign selection to snap mask. And now if I move this object around, you can see that the floors are no longer do no longer get in the way, because you can't snap to them any longer. So now you can just easily place this right here. Ctrl D to duplicate, move U to activate the object to object snapping, place it here, and then Ctrl, and there you go. So now we have another room there. Okay, now I think now is the right time to build the build a ceiling. But before we do that, maybe it would be, so let's just say that you would like to extend this this wall section right here, right? The way you would do that is you would select the ending, the cap, right? You just move it away, and then select a bunch of these, hold down Control, extrude, and then what you can do is, oh, I haven't selected, sorry, let's also get this guy, okay. And then what you can do is you can select these guys, press U to snap, object to object snap, and then let's see, okay, that's it. Yeah. So now let's create the ceiling. Yeah. So in order to create the ceiling, we have to be able to place objects like near the top, near the sorry, near the top of the walls, right? So there is some grid movement and manipulations functionality, but it only works in placement mode, so you have to be in placement mode when you do that. If I hold down the T key and left click on an object, it will snap the grid to that location. Now in this particular case, what I want to do is I want to make sure that the grid sits at the top of the walls, because that's where I want to place the ceiling. Now you could just zoom in and, you know, do your best to just make sure that you click right near the top. But the thing is, there's an easier way to do that. If you hold down the T key and double click above the mid section of the wall, yeah, so above the close to the end of the wall, like right here, for example, if you double click, it will automatically snap on top of the wall. Yeah, if you double click on like near the bottom, it will snap to the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna double click again and place them right there. And there's two ways in which you can do the ceiling. So I'm gonna switch to my ceiling category. These prefabs here that don't have a preview, they don't have a preview because the ceiling is facing away from the camera, like the normals are facing away from the camera, and this is why they're not rendered. Like also in the scene view, you have to look from below the object. So we could just place this like regularly using object to object snapping, like probably in the same manner that we did with the floor, but there's actually a much easier way to do this, and we can just do it instantly. So like if I switch to selection mode and then press G to select all the floor objects, I'm gonna press D to duplicate them. Yeah, so at this point we have a duplicate set of floor objects, right? If you scroll down, you have this selection projection settings. I'm gonna check project on grid, and then you can press project selection or just P on the keyboard, and that will project the floor objects on the grid, which means that they're sitting right on top of the walls. Sorry. Now, in order to turn these floor objects into a ceiling, you have to be in your ceiling category and then hold down Shift and press and a left click on the ceiling prefab. Now, if I go down and look up, you can see that we have our ceiling prefabs covering the entire thing, the entire apartment, right? So this is how you would add ceiling to your environment. Now let's go up one level. I'm gonna be working in the staircase category group now, so I'm gonna switch the active group to staircase, and in the selection settings I'm also gonna switch to staircase. And let's see, I think it's in the walls category. Then I have this. Okay, first I'm gonna press T and I'm gonna click on the floor to put the grid down. Let's see if I can get this working with object to object snapping. Nah, not from that side. So in this particular case, object to object snapping is a little bit annoying to use, because of this wall right here, like from the angle is not ideal. Let me try again, but yeah, something's happening here. I don't know. Oh yeah, the well, it's detecting the ceiling objects. This is something that was supposed to be fixed, but it seems that I didn't fix it, so don't worry. Normally it shouldn't detect, so it should ignore the objects that are facing away from the camera, right? And this is getting in the way right now, so I'm gonna be sending you, when I'm gonna send you the email, I'm gonna send you an email with a package that contains a bunch of fixes. It's actually the next update, and it would be great if you could update to that package, and also contain a fix for this functionality, because it shouldn't do this. It's annoying. Okay, so let me just put it right over here. Well, I think it snapped correctly. Okay, yeah. Now I'm gonna activate this wall right here, and let's see if we can. So there are situations when object-to-object snapping just fails to work because there are just way too many objects that are. Yeah, so in this particular case, it's really hard to snap this with object-to-object snapping. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place this object right here, then hold down V, and this is basically vertex snapping without a gizmo, right? So I'm gonna select this vertex right here, and then hold down the left mouse button and snap it to this vertex. Okay, and now we have it where we need it to be. Actually, I just realized this should not be here, I think. Now let's place, I'm gonna place a floor. Right, and I'm gonna put it, I'm gonna have to move the grid, hold down T, and just press right here on top of the stairs, and select this object and just move it right there. Okay, duplicate, and then let's see what else do we need to do. We need to duplicate this guy. Control D to duplicate, press Y to rotate, and then press U to perform object-to-object snapping, and just snap it in the correct spot. I think that's the correct spot. Okay, so yep, Control D to duplicate, Y to rotate, U, there you go. Oh, still there's something that I don't. Okay, there you go. And we need to complete that section there. We need to duplicate this guy, rotate it, and I think again this is another case where object-to-object snapping will fail. So I'm gonna press V, snap it in the correct position like that. So this is the staircase that leads to the second floor. Let's just check. Okay, so now let's basically let's work on the second floor. And here's how we're going to do the second floor. First, I'm going to move the grid like on the top, right? And I'm gonna select the first floor. So I'm gonna basically I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna switch to selection mode, and I'm gonna select the first floor, and then I'm gonna click select, and this will select all the objects in the first floor. And what I want to do is I want to duplicate these objects, and I want to move them, I want to project them on the grid so that they reside on the second floor. Now before we do that, before we duplicate them, I'm going to switch here, I'm going to switch to the second floor, so that when we duplicate those objects, they will be assigned to the second floor object, right? So I'm going to press Ctrl D. You can see that now the second floor contains all these objects. And what I want to do is I want to project them on the grid. So you see we have here a projection direction, right? And it's currently set to down, and this is what we actually want in this case. So you can think of this, so when we have the projection direction set to down, the objects will be projected on top of the grid. When you have it set to up, they will be projected below the grid. So down and up represent the direction of like how you are looking at the grid, right? So if you're looking down at the grid, it's going to be projected on top, right? Because that's what you see the top of the grid. That was the logic here. I don't know if it's really good logic, but yeah, this is how it works. So I'm going to press P, and now we already have the second floor. Of course, you don't want to have the second floor be exactly the same as the first floor. So you might want to just go in and make a bunch of changes, but you already have like you know, the basic layout, so you just need to change whatever you want to change. For example, you might want to just let's say create a bunch of new corridors, right? So I'm just going to delete these walls, then switch here, like right here, and then Ctrl D, U, there you go. Now let's right, and rotate. So now we have a new corridor, and we can just go and extend however much we want. And let me just show you how you can start placing a bunch of props. So basically I've just showed you what I wanted to. Don't worry about these things that you see here. It has to do with the walls, the way they've been constructed, so that it looks nice on the inside, but for some reason, to be honest, to be totally honest, I can't really explain it. It has to do with the fact that these walls are not capped. Yeah, so each wall has like the extremes of the wall prefabs are not capped. They don't have geometry, and I think it has to do with that. Okay, so let me show you how you can start placing a bunch of prefabs. For prefab placement, you have to switch to Decor Paint mode, and I'm gonna switch to Props, and let's see, I don't know, it could be anything. I'm not gonna try to make something realistic. I'm just gonna show you how you can just place a bunch of these. Now by default it has the align axis toggle button checked, which means that the axis of the object is going to be aligned to the surface normal. I'm going to uncheck this because we want to rotate the object manually, right? Okay, and just place this right here, right? Okay. What else do we have here? Honestly, I haven't played with the props too much, so I don't know exactly what we can find. What is this? Well, in any case, let me just show you a bunch of useful shortcut keys. So if you hold down Shift plus C, you're going to be able to, and then move the mouse horizontally, you're going to be able to rotate the object. This works in any placement mode. And Shift plus Control and mouse move will allow you to scale the object like this, right? If you press I, it will reset the rotation of the object to identity, and if you press O, it will reset the scale of the object to the original scale, the scale that is associated with the prefab asset. And I hope I'm not mistaken, because I remember making some changes in that area, but I think that is the case. I guess this is a corpse or something. Let's just put it like right here. I don't know. Yeah, so you can just place props wherever you want, and you can use the XYZ keys to rotate the object, or you can use Shift plus C to rotate. Shift plus C will rotate around the surface normal. If you hold down Shift plus X, it will rotate around the X-axis. Shift plus Y around the Y-axis. Shift plus Z around the Z-axis, and so on. And then don't forget Control Shift Scales. I'm not a really good level designer, so I don't know how I can take this further. Honestly, I don't have that kind of creativity. Okay, what else should we do? Oh yeah, let's also put a ceiling on top of this. So I'm just gonna switch to selection mode. Select. I would like to select all the objects all the floor objects on the second floor. But if I press the G key, it will also select the floors in the staircase and in the first floor right here, which is not something I want to do. So what I can do first is I can click on the first floor here and on the staircase, and I'm gonna disable them. I can see it deactivated some of the props. Well, I guess they have they were added to the. Oh, I had the first floor active. Okay, yep. So when I was placing the props, I had the first floor active group activated, and I guess this is why they were. Yeah. Well, in any case, let me just show you how you can. Basically, I'm just gonna repeat the process that I showed you the last time. But the important thing to remember here is that in order to select these floor objects, I had to initially disable the object groups, and now I can just press Control D and then P to. Did it duplicate them? Yeah. And project on grid. Oh, they're already on the grid, so I'm gonna have to switch. I'm gonna have to double click and now press P and then switch to the ceiling category, Shift, and now there you go. And now let's also enable the other guys. Okay, let's just move these prop objects to the second floor category group. Sorry, so I'm just gonna select here second floor and assign to group, and now they've been moved to the second floor. Okay. Yeah, so this is pretty much the workflow that I would recommend for this kind of environment. So as I said in the beginning, or maybe I didn't, I don't remember. The idea is that the current video tutorials do not show you how to do this, but I am planning on making a bunch of Let's Build series, which will actually. It's gonna be more of just something like what I've done today. Record a video showing how you can build an environment, and instead of treating each feature in isolation like I've been doing up until this point with the video tutorials that I have on YouTube, I would like to just create something like this, something that allows you to understand how you can just combine different features together. Okay, so I'm gonna send you an email with this, and I'm also going to send you a package for Octave. So please use that package instead of the old one, because it contains a bunch of fixes and new functionality that are not present in the package that you have access to. So please use that one. Yeah, just let me know if you have any questions or if you need any further help. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye bye.